Hello everyone. Hope that you are all having an absolutely wonderful day. Today's going to be a fun video. I stressed out way too much about it. I mean, this is just supposed to be fun. This video is all about if I was forced to go back to just a single makeup bag. And I'm not talking one of those nice big ones where you can fit like multiple foundations and things in, just a normal regular size makeup bag. I use this Sydney Grace one for reference. I did managed to close it, which was my goal, but it was completely stuffed full. So this actually can hold quite a bit of stuff. I do have it all set next to me just for ease of use for showing you. But again, just enough makeup to fit in here. What would be the items that I would choose from my collection? Again, I tried to have fun with this, but this was hard, and I was kind of interested by my own choices. I thought some of these things were surprising. Before I get into it, my tea of the day is a matcha latte. I recently ran out of matcha and it was a sad day. I managed to find some, however, at Walmart. This is the Jade Leaf brand, and this is their matcha latte blend. So it's not just matcha, it already has some sugar in it. I'm happy to see that matcha isn't as expensive as it used to be back in the day. Obviously, the nicer matcha that you get will become more and more expensive, but matcha used to be incredibly expensive. It's still not cheap, but it's not as bad as it used to be. And available at Walmart, so hooray for humanity. Okay, so let's start with base products. Thinking about myself day to day, a lot of times I can just get by with concealer. I don't need to wear foundation every day, but I did decide to go with two concealers. I decided to go with the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. This has been a favorite of mine for a really long time because it is truly soft matte. A lot of times when trying to cover up acne like I am, a nice hydrating concealer is not the way to go because they can be kind of shiny or they dry down and they can crack. Whereas something that is soft matte like this, that is a true cream, it will be flexible with your skin and it's matte, so it won't draw attention to the area. It's very high pigment. I've had this one for a really long time, and you know, I've got like a divot in there, but I definitely have a lot left. I think I've actually decided that this particular shade is not the right shade for me. It's a little too dark. Next time I pick this up, I'll pick up the shade Vanilla, but the formula really is kind of perfect for covering imperfections like acne. So I would keep that, and I would also keep like a brightening under eye concealer. I don't need something that's really super high coverage for under my eyes, just something to make me look a little bit alive. And I love this one from e.l.f. I use the shade Fair 15W. It has a clicker on the bottom that pushes the product out, and then it's a nice little wand like that. And I love this for under my eyes. So for day to day, just having those two concealers would be perfect. I did, however, want to use a foundation, and honestly, picking a foundation for this makeup bag was really hard. I'm kind of in love with my makeup collection at the moment. My foundations, they all have different uses for me, with, you know, the glowy, plumped up skin look versus the more high coverage look. I decided to go with my most high coverage foundation because this one I can just use a little bit and therefore it can be more flexible. So I went with my Yensa foundation. I do really like this product. This is the BC foundation. I think they've recently updated the packaging. I still have the old packaging. So this is SPF 40. I really trust it with my skin. It doesn't make me break out, even if I wear it on like a back-to-back basis every day. And I do feel like it actually does help my skin heal. So another reason why I would choose this one. In the couple years past where I've used this, I didn't need to put anything under this in terms of prepping my skin because my skin was more oily, and this was just absolutely glorious on my skin. This past winter, however, my skin has been getting a bit more dry, so before using this I would have to like prep with more hydrating moisturizer or primer or whatever. I just wanted to let you guys know that in case you have tried this as my recommendation, you have more dry skin, try using it with, you know, a nice hydrating primer underneath, even though it is kind of a glowy foundation by itself. I'm wearing it today and I love how it looks. It's a very pretty foundation. Okay, let's talk about bronzers. I was able to fit two bronzers into my makeup bag. I of course had to include the Flower Beauty one. It's the one that I'm wearing today. I love this because it has a glorious, soft, silky smooth baked formula, and it's really nice color for my skin tone. It's not orangey at all. It's kind of pinky, a little more on the cool tone side, and it's not super pigmented, so it's not something I need to really worry about going overboard with, which is a look I really don't care for on myself or on other people either. Like, too much bronzer looks stripy to me, and I love how this one is just so easy to work with. And same with like the cream bronzer I chose as well. I decided to go with my Makeup by Mario excuse me, my Makeup by Mario Softsculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. And he does call this a skin enhancer versus a bronzer. He does have other products he labels bronzers versus this, the skin enhancer. And I think because this one is so lightly pigmented, it's one of those products you can put pretty much anywhere you want on your face for just a little bit of life, a little bit of color. I do tend to put it in places like where I would put bronzer. I just love how it melts into the skin, how easy to use. Again, a very stress-free product, which is the type of products I tend to go for. Highlighters, man, I'm looking at what the little selection I managed to fit in the bag, and now I'm like second guessing myself because I chose different formulas, but basically all the same color. I would have loved to fit a pink highlighter in here, but I'll just show you what I picked out. So first of all, for the one I'm wearing today from Nabla, this is the Skin Glazing in this shade Ozone. It's stunning. It has the most beautiful, again, a gorgeous baked, silky formula that looks like glass skin when you put that on. Like, it's just truly stunning. I know this has been out for a long time, and it's worth being mentioned over and over again as a glorious powder formula. And I managed to fit 2 creams in. This one from Colourpop, again, another classic, and I think it's just worth it, again, mentioning again and again. I have the shade Lunch Money. The formula is so velvety and silky. It doesn't dry out quickly like the blushes do. It leaves like zero texture on your skin. The shade Lunch Money doesn't have any glitter. You can apply it with a brush or with your fingers, whatever you choose, but it is so perfect if you want something that can go from like super low intensity but can also be built up and still won't look cakey on your skin. Such a great product, and I love how inexpensive it is. This is one of those products that would go in those videos of like high-end things that are still like inexpensive. This is one of those things. And then I decided to include my Merit Stick. I had a hard time choosing between this one and like my Flower Beauty highlighter, but I decided to go with the Merit one for this video anyway. This is the shade Cava. I adore how this just looks like skincare on your skin. It makes you look like you have the most beautiful, hydrated, glowy, youthful skin, and it can be built up to become more and more shiny. I don't find it to be sticky. Again, very, very fuss-free. Lovely. Okay, so now I get into blushes. You guys know how much I love blush. I managed to fit several blushes into my makeup bag, and I am noticing like gaps in terms of color selection. I happen to just grab some of my favorite blushes. I don't know, if I had to think about this longer, I don't know if this would be the exact group of blushes I would choose, but I have a really hard time picking other ones over these, so that's just the way it is. First of all, for the one that I'm wearing, so this is from Weiss, and this is the shade Inner Glow. This blush is truly something special. They describe it as a taupe, which I guess it is taupe. It does have a kind of a nice glowy luminousness luminosity to it. I wouldn't have needed to wear a highlighter today. I wanted to, but this has enough glow to it. I wouldn't have needed a highlighter. But this particular shade, it's one of those that can almost look sort of bronzy, but still blushy. It's melty. It has zero stickiness. It's not really emollient either. Like a lot of them are super, super slippy. I wouldn't say this is a slippy formula. Just kind of melty. Very, very unique. And I wouldn't want to leave this behind if I had to do that with makeup. I would keep this one. I had to include my favorite blush. This was actually the very first blush I thought of that I had to make sure I got into this makeup bag. This is from Honest Beauty. This is the shade Rose Pink. Again, this is another one that has been updated, and I have the older packaging, but this shade on me is absolutely perfect. I know it looks quite bright here, but it is a very pigmented blush. You don't need very much at all. I use either my fingers or a brush, and it melts and it just stays so well. This isn't a blush that's going to fade super quickly. Since it is so pigmented, it's a little bit more of a sticky, stiffer formula, which I don't ever want that to sound bad. It is a wonderful thing because it's a gorgeous melty blush that will stay. That doesn't always happen with creams. I also decided to grab my Natasha Denona Puff Paint in the shade Darya. While this shade isn't the type of shade that I would reach for every single day, I had to include something like this, kind of a bright pop of pink. And I think that this particular formula is so beautiful. Like, I keep using the terms fuss-free. That's exactly what this is. It's not super pigmented. It's one of those that when you put it on your cheeks, you just kind of pat it on and you go, oh, I look so youthful and so energized. Man, I don't know what's going on with my voice. I would say it has more of a satin finish. It's not dewy or matte, but it does set down. It's not gonna move around. Such an underrated formula. And you know I would have to include my MAC Glow Play blush in the shade So Natural. I always say this blush doesn't look like anything. It just kind of looks like a peachy, beigey blush, but the formula is absolutely stunning. It has that soft, kind of bouncy texture that when you put it on your cheeks, it really blurs out your pores, and it's a very natural looking color. I mean, for my skin tone. So that is So Natural. Again, it looks super light, especially next to that shade from Honest Beauty. But if you're into like natural looking blushes, I really, really recommend this one. I managed to fit in a couple more blushes. No, the blushes are not done. From Phytosurgence, I had to include this one just because the shade is something else in my collection. I don't really have anything else like this. This is the shade Inferno. If you've never tried a Phytosurgence blush, the formula is really, really different from anything else. It feels like melted chocolate. Like, it's very, very different, and it has intense pigment. I don't think I can overstate. It's very, very intense. So that's the shade Inferno. When I use it, I use the tiniest. Like, I barely touch my finger to it, barely put any on my cheeks, use a brush to blend it out, and it is the most beautiful soft matte finish. Really, really pretty, and it has a good wear time as well. I keep meaning to check out other blushes from Phytosurgence. They've released some really, really neat shades. And from NYX, this is the Sweet Cheeks Soft Cheek Tint Blush Mousse in the shade Nude'Tude. I've raved about this endlessly on my channel, and it's one of those products I just haven't fallen out of love with. I continue to enjoy it every single time that I use it. I'm always wanting to pull it into my shop, my stash. It is soft matte. It blends out gorgeously. I just realized I swatched that over this one from Natasha Denona, so that's not its true shade. But you saw how nicely it blended out. This is such a great product from NYX. I really, really recommend it. I haven't tried the other colors. They seem to be very, very bright, but I'm in love with this color. I would include one mascara. I would probably go out and get the Tower 28 mascara. That one is my favorite. I don't currently have it in my collection, so the one that I'm wearing today is this one from Thrive Causemetics. This is a very popular, famous tubing mascara, and I do like this mascara. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it. At the beginning, it was more hate, and now it's more love. But right now, I'm currently testing the Milani Highly Rated mascara, which is supposed to dupe this one, so you'll probably see me wearing these a lot in upcoming videos as I'm testing them against each other. But for this particular makeup bag, I threw in this one from Thrive. Okay, let's talk about lips. So, before I loved eyeshadow, before I loved blush, before I loved juicy complexion products of any kind, my favorite was lip products. I tend to be one of those people where if I'm tired or not feeling well, my lips immediately kind of wash out and I look just so tired and sick. I'm not one of those people who can fake it without makeup. And so for me, lip products have always been a very important part of my daily routine. So I really managed to fit as many as I could in this bag. I actually had way more pulled out that I was trying to like stuff in the bag. My goal was, or my rule for myself was that I had to be able to close the bag. So I had to take out lip products. I still ended up with a bunch, and this is what I was left with. So I would keep my Clinique Chubby Stick in the shade Richer Raisin. This is kind of close to Clinique Black Honey, but it's just not as purpley. It's a little more browny. I love melty stick products like this, and this color is very, very flattering on my skin tone. So that would be one item. The lipstick I'm wearing today really got me into sheer lipsticks. This is from NARS. This is the shade Dolce Vita. This would absolutely be coming with me. Again, like I said, it's sheer, balmy formula, kind of a perfect My Lips But Better shade. Oh, it's just fantastic. This shade from Lisa Eldridge is very unique. I would have to keep this one. This is the shade Meet Me in Berlin, and it is a brown. And this is her luxuriously lucent lip formula, which is more of the sheer formula. This shade is pretty much brown, and it's a brown that I can pull off. I really, really enjoy it. Next up, I would keep my Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. This shade does work really, really well for me, like it does for many people. It is kind of a perfect pink. It really is. There's a reason why it's so popular and famous. Surprisingly, I would keep this one. I say surprising just because this is new to my collection, but I have been loving this so much. So this is from MAC. This is the Luster Glass lipstick in the shade Business Casual. So this is kind of more bricky pinky red than I usually wear, but since, again, it is a more sheer formula, I can get away with it. That's what business casual looks like. It's super flattering. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Incredibly, I only grabbed 2 glosses for my collection, which my true love is gloss, but there's something about these lipsticks, I would have to take them with me. The 2 glosses I picked is actually this one from Kjaer. I'm a huge fan of kind of balmy glosses, ones that feel like liquid lip balms, and these from Kajia are like, they really hit the mark. So this is the Gloss Shot in the shade Pink Drink. Oh, I love a thick, nourishing lip gloss. So that's Pink Drink. Another formula I really love is from Tower 28. This is the shade Cashew. I really like kind of a brown toned gloss. I do think that from Tower 28, my favorites are the jelly shades, but this still made it into my makeup bag. So that is the shade Cashew. Looking at those colors, yeah, those are great everyday colors for me. I wish I could have fit more in this bag though. I did pick out 2 lip liners, one that is more neutral. Well, they're both kind of neutral, but one is more cool tone than the other. So first of all, the one that I'm wearing today is from Thrive Causemetics, and this is the shade Kackie, which is the shade named after the YouTuber Kackie. This is a fantastic contouring shade. So it is what I'm wearing kind of a little bit on my upper lip and then on my bottom lip. Really, really great. And the formula from Thrive is really nice and creamy. And then I also picked out this one from NYX. This is the lip pencil in the shade Nude Truffle. So it's warmer than the one from Thrive, but still not super warm. So that's what that looks like. If I had more room in my bag, I would have grabbed a warm lip liner. But I didn't. It was stuffed full. I would use just a regular brow pencil. This one is from L'Oreal. This is the Brow Stylist Definer in the shade Dark Brunette. It is a lovely small pencil, which is what I prefer. That's what the shade looks like. It's not too creamy, so you get a lot of control to create nice hair-like strokes. And I'm not super high maintenance with my brows, so this would be fine for me. Let's get into eye stuff. So for an eyeliner, I decided I love brown eyeliner on myself the most. So looking at the brown eyeliners that I have, I don't really have anything that beats out this one from Wet n Wild, which is wild. Wild. Anyway, it's wild because only like 98 cents. If the price has gone up, it's still somewhere around $1. I keep seeing this at Target and I'm always like, oh, such a good underrated product. It's very pigmented and it's a nice rich brown. That's the color. Look, isn't that great? I'm wearing it both on my waterline and tight lighting with it today. And it stays for me. It does not smear. I don't get any transfer or anything with it. I think it's such a great underrated product. I would have to include an eyeshadow primer. The one I have right now is the one from Milani. And then I really went back and forth on whether I would even include very much eyeshadow at all, just because when it comes to like my basic core makeup, eyeshadow is what the fun part, not like the necessary part. Not like any of this is necessary, but you know what I mean. But I did decide to make some room for some eyeshadow. I don't know, I managed to like wedge in this little palette from Sydney Grace, and I put in some of my most favorite, just some of my most favorite singles from my collection. Not all of these are available anymore, like these 2 from Makeup Geek. This is another one from Makeup Geek. This is Speedway from Sydney Grace. These 2, funnily enough, are depotted from an e.l.f. New Classics palette. That palette, I don't know if it's still available. I think it might still be in some places. It has great tones of mattes in it. At least I really like the mattes in that palette. So anyway, I would have 2 mattes. I really went back and forth on whether or not I needed to include a cream eyeshadow, but the truth is, when I'm working with mattes, I often want a cream. So here we have a cream, and then the rest of these are either twinkly topper shades or some of my very, very favorite metallic shades. So here we have Troops from Sydney Grace. This is the most incredible purple twinkle shade from Glam Shop. I'll have to link the exact one down below. I can never remember what this one is called, and it never shows up as well on camera, but just know that whenever I wear that shade, I get comments from people. This is Peace from Sydney Grace. Oh, perfection. And this is Blondie from Sydney Grace. Oh, great pink. Love it. Next up, I have another one of those twinkle shades, super gorgeous, sparkly shades from Glam Shop, except this one flashes yellow. This is another one that whenever I wear it, I get comments from people who are like, what do you have on your eyes? That is so cool. And I know it doesn't really show up very well here, but it's one of my favorite shades to wear on my lids. Next up, I have a shade from the Kajia bento box, the orange blossom bento box. This is the center shade. shade number 2. And then we have all those mattes. So here we have a brown from e.l.f, a cream from e.l.f. Oh, of course I did a terrible job swatching those. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, this is Prim and Proper from Makeup Geek, Beach Please from Makeup Geek, Speedway from Sydney Grace, and then I don't even know if you can see it, but there's like a gray tone here. That was, what's this one called? Sand Dollar from Makeup Geek. Some of my favorite singles in my collection. Some of them. At this point, the bag, I could hardly close it, but I still managed to squeeze in a few others. So, my Dior single in the shade Beige Mitza. It has kind of a beautiful, wet, gel-like texture, even though it is a powder, and it is kind of the perfect taupe. Managed to squeeze that in there along with a classic from L'Oreal. This is one of the infallible eyeshadows in the shade Amber Rush. Oh my goodness. And I chose my favorite shade from Bodyography. This is the shade Celestial, which again never looks the same on camera as it does on my eyelids. But let me tell you, picking out those few shades of eyeshadow for this make-believe makeup bag of makeup that I would be allowed to keep for my whole collection was actually very stressful. So many of my favorites I couldn't fit into that bag. But I did find this to be an interesting exercise because in the past I was someone who had a very small makeup bag. And pretty much all I had in there was like eyeliner, mascara, and a gloss. I had other things in there, but I didn't really use them. So those were like the 3 things. If you had to curate a makeup bag of products, what are some of the ones that would make it into your makeup bag? I'd be very interested to know. I think that's such an interesting concept if we were forcing ourselves to be kind of minimalist. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm just kind of looking at my hair. I'm getting my hair cut tomorrow. I am so excited about it. I'm kind of thinking about asking for like a ton of layers, but kind of short. But a lot of layers. We'll see how it turns out. Well, you will see in my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.